Good afternoon, everyone. Time is 4 o'clock, and welcome to today's meeting of the Melton Borough Council Cabinet. Members are reminded that we will be using the audio-visual system this afternoon, and the meeting will also be streamed live on YouTube. There is a quick reference card placed on the desk in front of you, which provides instruction on how to use the basic speaking function of the microphone. Members are asked to physically raise their hands in the usual way to indicate they wish to speak and to use their microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. The microphone is live when the red light displays. Please switch your mobile phones to silent. I will now provide a reminder of the evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park, nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of the meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record, or use social media at a council meeting. This must not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. So we'll move over to the agenda items. Apologies for absence. I do have the apologies from Councillor Higgins and Councillor de Burle, who are both on holiday, which is very nice for them. I also welcome Councillor Cumbers, who's watching us on YouTube, I believe, or on at least the council stream. And welcome to Councillor Bindloss for his effort for turning up this afternoon to watch us in person. So thanks for that. I'm not aware of any others who are watching us on YouTube. Minutes. To confirm the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 21st of July. I'm very happy to move them, and I looked at Councillor Browne to second.
Yes, Leader, happy to second.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. I just have my normal one, which is a personal interest in any matter relating to the County Council, as I am a member of that authority. Councillor Freer.
Thank you. I have a disclosable interest in item 7 on the agenda, as I am a director of the bid board. So when this item comes up for discussion and voting, I will leave the room at that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Freer. Item 4, matters referred from Scrutiny Committee in accordance with the Scrutiny Procedure Rules. There are no items being referred from the Scrutiny Committee. So we move on to the meat of the agenda now, the housing revenue account, and I turn to Mrs. Garton, Director for Corporate Services, to summarise the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leader. The report sets out the latest position on the housing revenue account for the first quarter, with a forecast to the end of the financial year. For the revenue position, this is indicating a 270,000 underspend, which, if the year-end position is in line with this forecast, would result in an increase to the regen and development reserves to maintain the working balance at its agreed level of 750,000. Capital spend is also forecast to be underspent by 2.17 million. You've got the detail in the appendices with a summary in the report, and any key variances in excess of £10,000 are set out in the main body of the report. I think the theme of the variances are due to the residual impact of COVID on some services, with difficulties in recruiting some staff, resulting in salary savings, as well as savings resulting from 2 procurement exercises. These are offset to some extent by reduced income as a result of voids. With regard to the capital programme, a number of projects will be reviewed following the commencement of the development manager, and the programme will be updated accordingly at that time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Obviously, in Councillor de Burle's absence, it falls to me just to say a few words which is vastly underspend of the revenue budget, is good news, particularly where it results from savings on procurement. It is important that we maintain the momentum on planned improvements within the HRA. I'm pleased to see progress on the stock condition surveys, and these will be vital in informing up-to-date to the HRA business plan. COVID has seen slippage in the areas of repairs and delivery of the capital programme. The expertise from the new development manager post will assist in ensuring capital money is allocated to the right development projects and that we can move ahead quickly with delivery. The results from the stock condition survey, as well as informing the business plan, will also better inform our capital programme plans alongside the work of the development manager. So very happy to move the recommendation at 2.1, which is to note the financial position. I look to a seconder, Councillor Browne. Are there any comments to be made by anyone?
Yeah, I'd like to second, and also like to just state that yeah, the picture EO looks pretty good at the moment. But just the one thing that I would like to make a comment on is that it might look good, but we need to be mindful that the sector's under a lot of pressure at the moment in relation to increased costs. And when we get the stock condition survey back and in future allocate new contracts when they're renewed, costs may go up. So we'll need to be mindful of that. And I have spoken to Dawn prior to the meeting. And I think at the right time, it might be a good idea to look at stress tests and some of that, just to make sure that we're not way off the mark. But I'm sure we won't be, because the team here do know what they're doing and have got a really good handle on it. But just in case, and we can keep an eye on what the sector's doing out there. So that's the only comment. I'm happy to second the report later.
Thanks very much, Councillor Browne. Those comments have been noted, of course. Does anyone else have anything to say? Looking around. Okay, well, thank you very much. Obviously, I'll confirm the recommendation is to note, therefore, no votes is required, but the recommendation for those who are watching on YouTube is that the Cabinet notes the financial position of the HRA at the 30th of June 2021 and the year-end forecast for both revenue and capital. So I confirm that has been noted. So moving on to item 6, the general fund and special expenses budget monitoring, 1st of April to 30th of June 2021. Again, I turn to Mrs. Garton, Director for Corporate Services, to summarise the report.
Thank you, Leader. So a similar report, this time with regard to the general fund, both general and special expenses. With regard to the general expenses, the forecast is again for an underspend of around 120,000 at Q1. We have got some later information up to the next period for the end of July, and that does show that whilst we still are having an underspend, that's slightly reduced. This is after we've taken into account any ongoing financial implications of COVID, as well as the specific COVID contingency budget that was set up following as part of the budget, and also the additional carry forward that members approved from last financial year's underspend, and that provides that additional support for the ongoing impact of COVID. For members' information, that the COVID position and the financial impact is shown separately in paragraph 9.1, and this does show a net impact in year of £108,000 to date after taking into account specific income compensation grants. There are a number of non-COVID under and overspends forecast for the year, with those over 10,000 itemised in the main body of the report. But the main area of impact that's non-COVID related relates to the latest pay offer, which members may recall we did not budget for as part of the budget based on government guidance at that time, and that's adding an additional £80,000 worth of expenditure that was not originally budgeted for, but this is taken into account with the forecast of 120 underspend. With regard to special expenses, a small overspend is forecast, which again has increased slightly when we take into account period 4. You'll see on the capital expenditure forecast that these are broadly in line with the budget, with a number of key projects already underway or being procured. There are 2 schemes where there is likely to be some slippage into later years, from disabled facility grants and also the asset development programme, both of which are long-term projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Again, it falls to me to move the recommendation at 2.1, which is that Cabinet note the year-end forecast and financial position for the general fund and special expenses at the 30th of June 2021 for both revenue and capital. Just a few words as well. We knew that when we set the budget that 21-22 would be a challenging year financially. And that is why we prepared by setting aside a COVID contingency and carrying forward some unspent budget from last financial year. Setting up such a financial contingency has proved to be the right approach, and despite COVID continuing to affect the council financially, we still have some flexibility remaining to meet any further unforeseen costs for the rest of the financial year. We must not be complacent, and there will be further challenges ahead as we start the process of preparing our budgets for the next financial year. We have a modest capital programme within the general fund, and I am pleased to see the progress that has been made to date on the delivery of these schemes alongside the other pressures the council is facing. I turn and invited a seconder for the recommendation. Councillor Browne, thank you very much.
Happy to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments from members? Councillor Freer.
Thank you. I think it's important to for anyone who's watching this meeting to help to understand that while our income's falling, we're spending a lot helping people, helping the community with their rent, and homelessness continues to be an issue. So hopefully people can understand that the finance team and what we're doing, we're working really, really hard to ensure we've got this balanced budget, while also we've got all these strains on our own resources and our financial resources. So I think it's all credit to the officers and the work that they've done that we are where we are, but it's going to get harder and tougher. It's just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Freer. I also had an email from Councillor Higgins on this paper. Yeah, agenda item 6, I've got it right. He offers the following comments on the paper. Homelessness. Again, it is disappointing to see an overspend on this side, and there are some creative ways that homelessness costs on the taxpayer can be reduced. Councillor Browne is extremely knowledgeable in this sector, and the growth and regeneration portfolio stands ready to assist in those discussions. It is important to note, and particularly those who without merit criticise this cabinet, such as the opposition, that windfall projects such as Lake Terrace will offer additional capacity to help house those who may be at risk of becoming homeless. Cattle market. It is really pleasing against a backdrop of difficult times that the income here would exceed budget expectations by £35,000. The cattle market activity is going from strength to strength and driving a source of income to the council to invest in its services. It's also a key site where we are seeing national and regional events being held, such as it has this weekend with the Inter-Regional Petanque Championship and the 18th Melton Mowbray Beer Festival held next weekend. Overall, this shows the difficulty councils have when trying to meet liabilities. Like many households and businesses, it has been difficult to predict where the income will come from, and the expenditure will fluctuate to cope with demand. That said, Melton Borough Council has been a key driver to support both households and businesses over the past 18 months, and we need to continue to do so over the next difficult period of the recovery. Anything else? Like I say, thank you very much. Just to confirm, the Cabinet have noted the report, agenda item 6. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 7, Melton Mowbray Business Improvement District Renewal Ballot. Is this the item where you're going to leave us, Councillor Freer? Thank you very much. Just obviously, if it can be recorded, Councillor Freer has left the room. Thank you very much. I turn to Pranali, Director for Growth and Regeneration, to summarise the report of item 7, please.
Thank you, Leader. Our Melton Mowbray Business Improvement District has been established since 2011 and has had very successful 2 terms so far. It is due to a renewal ballot in October this year, and this report outlines all the work that the council is doing to support the bid in achieving a successful ballot. The report, I will go through the 4 different roles that the council plays in establishing, managing, and kind of working with the bid in improving the town centre vitality, vibrancy, as well as economic growth for the businesses within the bid area. These 4 roles are identified in paragraph 4.6, and I'll talk about each one of them in turn. 5.1 talks about council's role within the ballot process as the returning officer and the council as the ballot holder. There is a timetable set out identifying the ballot process in paragraph 5.1.2. And following the discussion tonight, if the cabinet decides to go ahead with, and if we satisfy ourselves that all the information has been received, then the ballot holder will be instructed to carry out the ballot for the bid in October. 5.2 establishes the renewal process and the business plan. The business plan is the draft business plan, which is attached in Appendix B of the report. It is the draft business plan because the bid has done a survey of all the levy payers. Those comments have been used to prepare the draft plan, which goes out to all levy payers in the next week or 2. And that forms a part of consultation process along with the ballot papers being sent out. And following that, the business plan will be finalized. So it is still a work in progress. But as you can note in paragraph 5.2.5, the key priorities are identified, which are exactly the same as they were for the last term. So there is no change proposed to those priorities. There is no change proposed to the boundary of the bid area either, and there is no change proposed to the makeup of the bid board. So those things remain the same. Now, councillors and cabinet have been asked to provide comments on the draft business plan, and we have received few comments from the ward councillors as well as some of the businesses, both within the bid area as well as in council tenancy and on council properties. One comment from the ward councillor relates to encouraging bid to invite and attract large retail businesses within the area. And other comments from the businesses to the north of Norman Way relate to more integrated approach from the bid board to make sure that the wider geographic area is covered within the decision-making process, and the projects that the bid identifies benefit all the businesses and all levy payers, because the businesses to the north have felt slightly isolated in the last 5 years. These comments are to be noted. Having said that, the draft business plan is one thing council does need to clarify is that does it comply with all council's policies and procedures, and the key priorities they do. So that's identified that within our corporate priorities, priority 3, priority 6 are particularly relevant to the priorities set out in the draft business plan. The next item in the next point 5.3, which is council's role as the billing authority for levy collection. This is council is required if the bid is established to collect the levy and carry out enforcement action for any levy charges. And our benefits and revenue team works all throughout the year with the bid board in collecting the levy and reporting to the board on monthly basis. There is, of course, council does collect the levy. We do enforcement action. Council also issues invoices and provides regular update to the board, as well as sending reminders to the businesses and taking any customer inquiries that comes through the customer services. This activity costs the council about £18,000 per year, and this reflects purely the staff time and the on-cost that it covers only for the levy charges. This does not include any services that the council provides within the bid area in the town centre. And the levy collection agreement, which is the bid operating agreement, which is identified in Appendix C of the report. Again, this is the draft agreement. This will be finalized following the discussions and negotiations with the bid in the next few weeks, and it will be it's proposed to be agreed in consultation with the leader to finalize the operating agreement. 5.4 relates to council's role as the service provider within the town centre, as well as the major service provider. We work with the town estate as well as the bid company in provision of services within our town centre. The basic services that the council provides is identified in Appendix D of the report, which is the statement of baseline services. Now, there are two parts to this statement. The first part relates to the statutory services, and the second part relates to the discretionary services that the council provides. Now, this part, all the services identified in part 2, which is the discretionary part, council has the discretion to amend or review or make changes or even cease the provision of those services at any point, subject to discussion and approval by the council following consideration at council or cabinet. Going next to 5.4, 5.4 we just talked about. 5.5, which is council's role as the levy payer. So we have about, as identified in paragraph 5.5.1, we have about 19 properties within the bid levy area. That means that we are paying just over £8,000 worth of money towards the levy collection, and this is in addition to the ratepayers within our properties operating as tenants or occupiers that they pay. So the council has a significant amount to contribute towards the levy within the area. And for that, council does get 19 ballots to cast votes, and council may want to consider how, while the recommendation is there for council to cast a vote in favor, cabinet may want to consider all the comments received for the draft business plan and defer that recommendation to a later date. So that's about it in terms of all the different items that we need to consider to support the ballot process. All the financial implications related to council's support throughout the process are identified in section 9. And the consultation so far that the bid has carried out. I've just got one update on that. So the Appendix G of the report identifies the summary of the consultation from the survey that the bid had carried out to inform the business plan. Now, that summary was compiled at the time of sending the report out, which was last week. Since then, I have received an update as of yesterday, and it only makes a slight and minor change, but it's worth noting that 80% of the businesses who have responded back to the survey have said that they will be voting yes for the bid, and about 20% or just under 20% have said that they will be voting against the bid. And the total number of businesses, I think it's about 10 or 12% of businesses have responded to the survey. So that's it on the bid report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of Pranali at this stage? No, they can come later. Yeah, thank you very much. Democratic Services, I'd just point out a couple of one's quite a big error actually, but it's no one's particular fault. If you turn to page 1 of the report, where it says agenda item 7 at the top, it says Cabinet 8th September, report of Councillor Alison Freer, portfolio holder for climate access and engagement. Can that be please changed to report of Joe Orson, leader of Mountain Borough Council? And then the second very small change, it does say the director for growth and the lead member for growth as well, but obviously the lead member for growth isn't here, so it falls to me to present a small response to this. And that is due to a number of representations that we have received quite late on, actually. I'm going to amend the recommendations that are listed on page 3, going over into page 4. And I will read out now for absolute clarity of everyone what the amended recommendations are. And I will be moving the recommendation as well, by the way, and I will be looking for a seconder as well. So 2.1. Notes that the bid proposal Appendix A and the draft bid business plan Appendix B comply with the regulations. Item 2.2, provide formal comments for the consideration of the bid board and request that those comments are reflected in the final business plan document. 2.3, delegates authority to the Director for Growth and Regeneration to finalise the draft operating agreement, including the levy collection charges in consultation with the leader. 2.4, approve the statement of baseline services at Appendix D. 2.5, to defer the decision in relation to the council's votes in the upcoming ballot pending receipt of the final business plan. 2.6, notes arrangements in place for the ballot in October 2021 and that the returning officer, Ed de Coverley, Chief Executive, will formally instruct Civica, if that's how you pronounce it, Civica, to conduct the ballot in accordance with the regulations. I now invite a seconder for those amended recommendations. Malise.
I have pleasure in seconding those, and I would like to make some comments if last time.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I've had representations. It's basically to do with 2.2, a consideration of a bid board of a final business plan, and those comments come from the north of the area, and therefore I would like officers, when discussing it, to take into consideration: 1, the bid board takes into account fair and equal distribution of projects and activities across the bid area to ensure the benefits reach out to all levy payers. 2, the bid board ensures that membership of the board reflects fair geographic and sectorial representation. 3, the bid promotional material and activities promote all businesses in levy area equally. And 4, the business plan includes actions and governance to ensure that the bid is measurable and accountable to this fair and equal treatment. I think these are basic requests, and I'm sure will be taken into account with a business plan. But I just would like to officers, when they are discussing it, to bear those ones in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Malise. Councillor Browne, do you have any comments?
Just one comment. Pranali, could I just double check, did you say that in the survey that was carried out, it was 12% of businesses responded? Yeah. If Yeah, sorry, I just picked that up. If when you do go back to speak to the bid, it's just basically about ensuring that there's robustness around what the new priorities are, because it was mentioned that it's the same priorities as the last 5 years. Or following on from what Councillor Graham has said, I just think it's important that they just sense check themselves one last time rather than just carrying on with the same old same. As we come out of a pandemic, and life is going to be much different, and I would just like a little bit of reassurance. I'm sure, having spoken to some other members, that would be the same across the board. But from my perspective, if we could just do that, because 12% is very low, you know, and maybe just a little bit of reflection would be helpful. No other comments from that, leader.
Thank you very much. Obviously, if all Councillor Graham's comments could be noted, please, and obviously, Pranali, you'll take them on board in your further discussions when you come back to me in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks' time or whenever.
That's
So,
right.
okay, so we turn to a vote, a recommendation at, wrong one, sorry. I've proposed the amended recommendations at 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, 2.5, 2.6. Councillor Graham has seconded it. I look to those raising their hands in favour, please. Thank you very much. Obviously, unanimous vote there. Democratic Services, have you got that recorded? Thank you very much. That finishes that off for the time being anyway. We move to agenda. Wait for Councillor Freer. Sorry, James. Moving on to agenda item 8, which is the annual Ombudsman report. I turn to the Assistant Director for Governance and Democracy to summarise the report.
Thank you, Leader. As members will be aware, the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman submit an annual report by way of a letter to the Council on all complaints that they have received in a year. So this report presents that letter to the Cabinet to ensure strategic oversight, along with other complaints data for the period 1st of April 2020 to the 31st of March 2021. So the report informs the Cabinet of the contents of the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman annual report, which provides us with a summary of the complaints received by them. That is detailed in paragraph 5 and shown in full in Appendix 1 of the report before you. It also informs Cabinet of the number of housing ombudsman complaints that have been referred and also their decisions. Now, the Housing Ombudsman does not provide a similar letter, but we felt it was important that the information should be contained within the report to give you a holistic view. That is detailed at paragraph 5.8 of the report, and we've also included the number of corporate complaints received over the past year, and those are detailed at paragraph 5.10 of the report. The Local Government Ombudsman and Social Care Ombudsman have confirmed that no public interest reports have been issued against Melton Borough Council in the last 8 years, which is very positive. I'm happy to take any questions, but the recommendation before Cabinet today is to note the Local Government Ombudsman annual review letter and also note the contents of the report in respect of their findings, the Housing Ombudsman findings, and the corporate complaints statistics for the year 2020-21. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Kieran. Just a few comments. Well, the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman, the LGSCO Ombudsman, submits an annual report to the Council on all complaints they have received, which is presented to Cabinet for strategic oversight by the Cabinet, along with other complaints data for the period 1st of April 2020 to 31st March 2021. This report informs the Cabinet of the contents of the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman annual report letter, which provides a summary of the complaints received by them, the number of Housing Ombudsman's complaints and decisions. The Housing Ombudsman does not provide a similar letter, but the information is contained within the report, and the number of corporate complaints received too. It also details that no public interest reports have been issued against Melton Borough Council in the last 8 years. I must admit, I particularly like paragraph 561. In 100% of cases, the LGSO was satisfied that Melton Borough Council had successfully implemented its recommendation. This compares to an average of 16% in 16% of similar authorities. Now, I'm very happy to move the recommendation at 2.1 that we note the Local Government Ombudsman Annual Review Letter 2020-21, and 2.2 that we note the comments of the report in respect of the LGSCO findings, Housing Ombudsman findings and complaint statistics for 2020-2021. So I turn to Councillor Browne to see if he will second that, please.
Yes, Leader, happy to second that.
You had anything to say at all?
Just two comments really. One is it's really good to see that we're actually following up on the recommendations and actually implementing them, which especially around tenants and looking at the white paper, which will hopefully soon be implemented, that gives them satisfaction that they can complain to us and they do get listened to. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that, you know, we seem to be doing a lot more to encourage people to tell us when we do things wrong. And that's not a bad thing. It's about learning. Good organizations learn from where things have gone wrong, set them right and move on. And I think we're certainly going in the right direction. So well done to everybody, especially in the housing team, but also in the other areas of the council that have had to respond to these issues.
Councillor Gray, Councillor Frere, anything to say? Nope. The ideal ombudsman report is, of course, 0 complaints really at the end of the day, but we are where we are. That's never going to be. But in my, what would it be now, 18 years of history at Melton Borough Council, I think this is the strongest ombudsman report I've ever seen, to be honest. And I suspect Councillor Frere, Councillor Graham and Councillor Browne can say that too as well. It really is good news. We're going in the right direction and like I say, very, very strong. So I will confirm that the Cabinet have noted the report. I don't believe there's any other business at all today. Am I right, Chief Executive? So just thank you to everyone for listening to us. The time is 5:25 and thank you very much. See you all next time.